Translator, Dark Angel. Editor, Kurisu. All pushed forward to fulfill their appointed roles. Liu Dong and his companions departed to track and hunt the bright wool sheep, while Ling Han laid out an array of medicinal ingredients, preparing to refine a certain pill. Only an Alchemy Emperor of Ling Han's stature could grasp medicinal properties so precisely, blending them until the finished drug was tailored to a single creature. To all other living beings, the concoction could be called harmless, yet to the red-scaled dragon snake alone, it was a death warrant. In many circumstances, alchemists also walked the path of poison. The little poison lord, Yu Zheng, was one such example. Yet his skill was worlds beneath Ling Han's. Though the bright wool sheep was not a formidable demonic beast, its flesh was incomparably delicious. It was not only the favored prey of many demonic beasts, but also a delicacy prized by humans. Thus, its numbers in this region had dwindled. Finding one was no easy matter. Only after a full 3 days did Liu Dong and his group finally return. Chen Pengju bore upon his back a creature resembling a mountain goat. Its fleece was splendid, a gorgeous woolen coat like the finest brocade. They had, at last, captured a bright wool sheep. Ling Han fed the refined drug to the bright wool sheep, then cut open one of its legs with a gash. After that, he hurled it into the lair of the red-scaled dragon snake. That great snake's sense of smell was terrifyingly keen. The scent of blood would certainly rouse it from deep slumber, and with the bright wool sheep being its favorite fare, it would not be able to restrain itself from slithering out to feast again. Even if it had already eaten its fill, why must the bait be alive? Because every red-scaled dragon snake was cautious by nature. If the prey was not something it had slain with its own mouth, it would absolutely refuse to eat. After Ling Han emerged from the cavern, he withdrew together with the others to a spot some distance away. They concealed themselves behind a nearby boulder so that once the great snake emerged, it would not discover their presence. Not long after, the earth beneath them began to tremble, as though some colossal beast had gone mad nearby. It was the red-scaled dragon snake. Peng! A gigantic serpent of red shot out from the cavern mouth like an arrow loosed from a bow. Its girth was thicker than a bucket, and its length was absurd. What they could see already neared 100 meters, yet there was still no sign of its tail's end. 2 thin membranes jutted from the great snake's neck. At this moment, those membranes quivered, emitting an eerie woo-woo sound. At last, the whole body of the great snake cleared the cavern. Its total length was around 200 meters, and from head to tail it was armored in crimson scales. Each scale was the size of a bowl's lid. It seemed to have lost its mind, smashing into obstructions in every direction without pause. Its long tail lashed like a whip, and amid its rampage, countless surrounding boulders were shattered to pieces. How come that thing's not dead from the poison yet? Liu Dong and his group drew cold breaths in shock. They could not comprehend it at all. Duh! That's a demonic beast in the 9th layer of Element Gathering tier. Moreover, it has inherited a shred of the dragon's bloodline, and has been acclaimed as a ruler among demonic beasts of the tier. How could it die so easily? Ling Han said, shaking his head. If it were that easy to kill, he would not have needed to wait until he reached the peak period of the 1st layer of Element Gathering tier before coming here. Oh no, it's noticed us! The great snake's sense of smell was too strong. Even though Ling Han and the others had hidden at a point downwind, the serpent still discovered them. It immediately twisted its enormous body and charged straight at them. "Cece!" The great serpent's tongue flickered, and the 2 membranes on either side of its neck trembled, producing that strange sound. A stench of rot surged over them. "Yutong, let's join forces. We need to detain it." Ling Han did not feel even the slightest fear. He simply drew his sword and flung himself forward. Lu Yutong did not answer. She merely kept close behind Ling Han and, for the first time, drew the weapon she favored. She, too, was a sword wielder. The 2 moved together, blades flashing as if in a sword dance, striking toward the red-scaled dragon snake. In principle, Lu Yutong had already reached the 9th layer of Element Gathering tier, so in pure power she should not have been at a disadvantage against the great snake. Yet, the red-scaled dragon snake carried a thread of the dragon bloodline. Whether in brute force or in defense, it surpassed all other existences at the ninth layer of element gathering tier. Even Liu Yutong was not qualified to face it head-on. It was a ruler of this cultivation tier, and only other rulers of the tier could battle it one against one. Ling Han possessed the 5-element origin nuclei, and his strength likewise exceeded others at the same level, so he did indeed merit the name ruler. The problem was that his present cultivation was still far too low. Even with the two of them fighting in unison, they were still driven to leap and dodge in every direction, fully proving the terrifying might contained within that serpent. Be patient. It's already poisoned, so it can't hold on for much longer. But we definitely can't allow it to flee, Ling Han said. N. Liu Yutong nodded. Ling Han unleashed everything he had. Each time his sword swept, 4 streaks of sword chi burst forth. Poo, 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 and 4 wounds opened on the body of the red-scaled dragon snake. Yet the physical blade itself still could not pierce the great snake's scales. This was the might of sword chi, and also why every swordsman with any pride held it in the highest reverence. And when Liu Dong and the others saw the 4 flashes of sword chi that Ling Han had displayed, they were utterly stunned, mouths hanging open, speechless. However, the great snake's counterattack was equally swift and savage. Its tail cracked through the air, and shattered stones shot outward with frightening force, causing bloody marks to bloom again and again across Ling Han's body. Ling Han did not let out even a single cry of pain. Instead, he began to rouse the lone wolf's blood within him. Wang, the 5 elements origin nuclei inside his dantian, rotated faster, and his power surged upward. At the same time, the circulation of the indestructible heaven scroll caused his wounds to recover at a terrifying speed. The simultaneous circulation of these 2 different techniques, coupled with the vicious battle before him, made the origin power within Ling Han's body drain at an astonishing pace. For any other person, fighting at full strength might last about half an hour. But for Ling Han, 10 minutes was already the limit. But he had long foreseen this, and had prepared a large stash of medium-level return origin pills. The moment he sensed his origin power spilling away, he would swallow one. With the quantity he had on hand, there would be no issue for him to continue battling for roughly 20 minutes. They had to detain the great snake by any means, because the drug he refined was crafted specifically to target the red-scaled dragon snake. The serpent's nature was yin, so he had prepared a great store of medicinal ingredients with yang nature or fire alignment, forcing yin and yang within the snake's body to clash, thereby injuring the red-scaled dragon snake's life force. Yet this poison was also extremely easy to cure. As long as it plunged into a river, letting water extinguish the flames raging inside its body, it could fully recover after 3 or 4 days of rest. Driven by instinct, the red-scaled dragon snake would certainly search for water, so they had to stop it here by all means. If not for this, Ling Han would have had the entire group hide much farther away and wait for the red-scaled dragon snake to die before returning to claim their rewards. After the battle dragged on for a time, the great snake's initial frenzy faded and restlessness took its place. It felt as though a blazing inferno churned within its belly, and the shadow of death pressed closer and closer. It no longer attacked with the same ferocity. Instead, it twisted its head around, intending to flee. "Where do you think you're going?" Ling Han instantly slashed out with his sword. He had entered 7 Wind Mountains first for the Earth Dragon Grass, and second for this great serpent's inner core, so that he could refine the transcending origin pill. If he wished to raise his cultivation in a short span, he needed to rely on the external support of that medicinal pill. Pa! The great serpent whipped its tail, unleashing a horrifying shockwave. Though the tail did not strike Ling Han directly, the shockwave alone blasted Ling Han backward, sending him flying. The 9th layer of element gathering tier was indeed terrifying. Ling Han felt bitterly rueful. The higher the cultivation, the harder it became to leap realms in battle. Element gathering tier was still manageable, but once he reached gushing spring tier, even a single layer of difference would be an immeasurable chasm. If he, at the 1st layer of gushing spring tier, fought an opponent at the 9th layer of gushing spring tier, he would be erased in a single move. There would be no chance to prolong the fight even a little. Lu Yutong let out a clear whistle as her long sword flowed, her blade waving freely like rainfall, and a high-level yellow-grade sword art unfurled. Her assault was like rain itself, and it effectively parried the red-scaled dragon snake's strike. Translator, Dark Angel. Editor, Kurisu Linghan and Liu Yutong had already begun swallowing pills as though racing the hourglass. The pills Linghan consumed replenished his origin power, while those Liu Yutong took were to hasten the mending of her wounds. To meet a demonic beast of this kind head-on was no different from courting death, and in only a few brief minutes of battle, she had already suffered heavy internal injuries. Fortunately, the pills Linghan refined were of superb grade, allowing her to keep her battle prowess at its peak condition. Moreover, because of Lone Wolf's blood, her battle prowess was still climbing higher and higher. Linghan had taught it to her some time ago. With her rising battle prowess further bolstered by the circulation of Lone Wolf's blood, Liu Yutong could barely contend in a direct clash against the red-scaled dragon snake. If the red-scaled dragon snake had not been poisoned, then the ones destined to lose this battle would certainly have been Linghan and Liu Yutong. But matters were different now. They only needed to endure for 20 minutes. As the struggle dragged on, the red-scaled dragon snake grew increasingly frantic. The yin and yang within its body were in ever sharper conflict, and many places along its body had already burst apart. Green blood sprayed in all directions. It was corrosive in nature. Where it splashed onto the scattered rocks, it melted stone at an astonishing speed. Poisonous gas also drifted through the air, enough to poison and kill a martial artist at the 9th layer of the element-gathering tier with ease. If it lacked such awe-inspiring might, how could it be called the ruler of the element-gathering tier? Rulers were, naturally, invincible. Unfortunately, it had encountered Linghan. Linghan and Liu Yutong had already taken antidotes, and the fierce poison only made them feel a slight dizziness, without greatly affecting their battle prowess. "Sisi!" Sensing death drawing near, the red-scaled dragon snake began to flee in reckless desperation. In its eyes, it only needed to resolve the trouble within its own body, and then dealing with these two insignificant human beings would be as easy as turning its head. Liu Yutong was enraged as well. She swept her long sword as if a rainbow lay in her grasp, like a battled goddess, revealing heroic beauty amidst slaughter. The great serpent did everything it could to escape, while Linghan and Liu Yutong did everything they could to stop it from escaping. If they let this chance slip away, the red-scaled dragon snake would surely not be fooled again next time, and they would have to wait until Liu Yutong broke through to the gushing spring tier before returning. A broad river appeared some distance ahead. The red-scaled dragon snake seemed to understand that the river's water could cleanse its poison, and it instantly roused itself, accelerating its flight. Even as it endured Liu Yutong's attacks, it did not counterattack even once. It seemed to have decided that it would stake everything on slipping into the river. A flash of absolute determination crossed Liu Yutong's eyes. She lifted her sword high and gave a light shout. "One sword of heaven's martial arts determines the universe!" Shoo! Her blade swept out, and it was as though sword and wielder had become one, cutting toward the red-scaled dragon snake's neck. Linghan's expression changed, and he shouted, "Don't be reckless!" This slash was far too terrifying, and the red-scaled dragon snake did not dare to take it head-on. Otherwise, it was highly likely it would be slain by this single strike. It let out a shrill hiss, and its body instantly coiled in place, hiding its head within the rings of its own coils for protection. Pooh! The long sword dropped in a swift arc, and a flash of sword chi erupted, so sharp it actually cleaved the red-scaled dragon snake's body into two, green blood surging out like a spring. The great serpent writhed across the ground in agony. Nearly 1/3 of its body, near the tail, had been cut off by Liu Yutong's sword slash. Pa! Liu Yutong's delicate figure swayed, and she toppled toward the ground. Linghan leaped forward and caught the icy beauty before she struck the earth. He frowned and said, "Are you crazy? You actually forced your origin nucleus, squeezing it to raise your own battle prowess. If it exploded, you'd lose your life. I managed to form sword chi. Did you see? I formed Sword Chi. Lu Yutong spoke weakly, yet with excitement. In that instant, there was only one thought in her mind, and that was to stop the red-scaled dragon snake. She could not let Ling Han down. With that conviction to support her, she actually broke through her limits and succeeded in forming Sword Chi. You silly girl, if you dare do something like this again, I'll smack your behind. Ling Han hoisted Lu Yutong onto his back. The red-scaled dragon snake's strength was now close to completely exhausted. Though the river was not far, it could no longer reach it. A red flush appeared on Lu Yutong's beautiful, cold face, yet she pressed her cheek to Ling Han's back. Listening to the strong beating of his heart, her mind emptied of all stray thoughts. The red-scaled dragon snake was still twisting on the ground, but its movements grew smaller and smaller. Finally, it no longer moved at all. Yet Ling Han did not act rashly. A centipede dies but never falls down, and this serpent was extremely long. Moreover, this red-scaled dragon snake was counted among the ranks of kings. Big Brother Ling. Liu Dong and his group rushed over. Their faces were filled with astonishment, and when they looked at Ling Han, it was as if they were looking at some kind of monster. How could they not be astonished? Though the red-scaled dragon snake had been poisoned, its battle prowess had not weakened. Ling Han had actually managed to fight it for so long. Even if the main attacking force had been Liu Yutong, this was still an unbelievable feat. If it had been them in his place, one sweep of the great serpent's tail would probably have been enough to kill them all in a single blow. Is Miss Liu all right? They asked. She should be all right, Ling Han smiled. With an Alchemy Emperor like him nearby, as long as she still had one breath, there was no way she would die. He was just about to have Liu Dong and his group watch over her and the serpent while he entered the cavern to pluck the earth dragon grass, when he suddenly spotted several people emerging from the bushes along the riverbank. There were 6 in total, with a young man in the lead. Behind him were 5 men dressed all in black, seemingly of varying ages. From the look of it, they were the young man's lackeys. Ha! It's an actual red-scaled dragon snake! The young man rubbed his hands and laughed loudly. That's why I said we should come over and check things out when we heard the commotion. We actually ran into such a good thing. Young master's good fortune is as high as the sky. The 5 men in black spoke in unison, flaunting their skill at currying favor. Quickly carry this great serpent back for me. I'll let grandfather see how great I am, the young man commanded at once. Understood. The 5 men in black strode toward where the red-scaled dragon snake lay. The 6 of them chatted among themselves as if they had not seen Ling Han and the others standing there at all. Hey, we were the ones who killed that red-scaled dragon snake. Zhu Shuiyi shouted in anger. Li Hao had already drawn his saber, ready to step forward and stop them. Yet Ling Han raised one hand to prevent him from advancing and said with a smile, "You don't have to do anything." Li Hao and the others could not understand. Could it be that Ling Han truly intended to hand over the red-scaled dragon snake just like that? But Ling Han did not seem like that kind of person. Previously, even after knowing that Hang Zhan was the grandson of the 7th elder of the Stone Wolf sect, he had still done exactly as he said and killed him. His brow had not twitched even once. When the young man on the other side saw this, his face filled with an expression that suggested this was something utterly commonplace to him. Given his identity, it was perfectly normal for other groups to yield to him. Yet at this very moment, the situation changed drastically. The red-scaled dragon snake that appeared to have completely died suddenly coiled up. Its head shot out and bit one of the men in black, snapping him in half, while its body coiled and tightly bound the other 4. This was its final attack before death. Gathering every last shred of strength to unleash it, it was incomparably fierce. Ka-ka-ka, the cracking of bones rang on and on. The 4 trapped within the serpent's coils were instantly crushed into a lump of flesh and blood, all mixed into an indistinguishable mass. There was no way to tell who was who anymore. Meanwhile, the man bitten in half was left with only 2 legs, which staggered a few steps in different directions before collapsing with a pa. Pa! The red-scaled dragon snake lay down once more on the ground, and this time it was finally dead.